Watch this.
An unexpected twist before the end of the year, a gold rush. Now people are mining their jewelry boxes and drawers, lining up at local pawn shops to sell off their precious metals. Does the future continue to look bright for gold, or will there be an end of the line? The numbers are in, and they are record-setting. Also, other notes. More money spent out of state by lobbyists this year in Idaho than ever before. Putting down roots and building a home, the dream for many Americans, and I guess it goes for animals too. Video capture shows a local beaver picking up construction supplies, not deterred by the human onlookers as it worked. It may feel like your dollar doesn't stretch as far as it used to, and if you ask the people who trade in treasure, they'll tell you that's because it doesn't. Gold and silver prices are priced at near record highs, which is great if you have old jewelry in a drawer. Not so great if you're wondering about what it says about the economy. And if you've driven by a local pawn shop lately, maybe you've seen a lot of cars there. Or maybe you've even stood in a line outside just waiting to get inside yourself. Our Hunter Funk shows us why Boise's gold rush is back and what it may be trying to tell us about our future.
It's very popular lately.
At Idaho Gold and Silver, the doorbell and the greetings
Hello.
have become owner Casey Renner's latest soundtrack. Even before her coffee hits the bloodstream. Idaho's major gold rush happened in the 1860s.
14 karat, 10 karat, 9 karat, European, not sterling.
But you could say another gold rush is happening here.
You did good. It's a good time for the gold and silver. It'll give you ulcers if you watch it too close.
As people wait in line to sell their gold.
Oh, that 9 karat bracelet did great. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Per day.
Per day. Yeah.
Are you tired?
Yes. We work 6 days a week and I am tired.
Casey and her husband have owned the store for about 23 years, and her husband has been doing this for 45 years. In that time, they've never seen the numbers stack up like this.
Not like this. Not like this, but then the U.S. has never been $38 trillion in debt. There's a lot of economic factors that push it, but it's the golden age for precious metals right now.
But when gold and silver prices are soaring, Casey says something else usually dips: the confidence in the dollar.
The dollar's losing value. So if you go to the grocery store or you try and buy a house, it takes a lot more than it used to. And it's the same. It takes more dollars to buy gold and silver. They're just doing the same thing that your house did.
Ask BSU professor Ross Burkhart, who studies these kinds of things, what he thinks.
I wouldn't say the dollar is particularly strong or weak right now in comparison to gold. I think that the gold prices are reflective of a couple of things. First of all, it's kind of a hedge against perhaps harder economic times, so people invest in gold. Also, there are foreign actors who wish to buy gold as another asset, perhaps diversifying their portfolio and staying away from the U.S. economy a bit. Right? The U.S. economy has changed around somewhat, especially with tariffs. And so the U.S. economy may be seen as slightly less stable. So people at that high level will make those purchases to try to address that.
Ross says there can be many reasons behind the spike and says there's a correlation between gold prices and recession, as the last 2 times gold went up was in 2008, 2009, and then during COVID, which may show us anticipating a recession. It's something any country or person falls back on. It's tangible and easy to think of as an asset.
When they get nervous, they like to go back to what's tried and true, and what's tried and true is gold and silver.
Inside the shop, that anticipation has turned into nonstop traffic.
It's going to be a good day today. It's exciting, though. It's like a little treasure hunt. You know, I feel like a pirate. We're treasure hunting every day. You never know what's going to come in.
For now, Idaho's gold rush isn't slowing down.
Right now, gold is at $4,212. And silver, as of this moment, is at $56.97.
And neither are the people cashing in while they can.
Okay, $2,602.08. All right, sign right there for me. It's been crazy. There's a lot of people that are really excited about the metals markets. They're at an all-time high. We've never seen them this high. We don't think they're done. We think they're going to keep going, definitely.
And you heard it there. If you are wondering if you should cash in, like any stock, you are taking a gamble. There's been dips, but according to the pawn shops here, as you just heard, they expect it to keep climbing as long as the uncertainty continues.
So it's interesting. You mentioned how busy it was in there. A little more color on this. You're saying that it was hard to even have an interview.
Yes, it was actually really entertaining at the same time, right? Because we're like, okay, we're going to grab an interview with you right now before it gets too busy, because we saw maybe 1 or 2 people in there. And she wrapped up that, and then all of a sudden we see like 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're just like, okay, we're gonna let you do this, and then hopefully we get another lull. And we got one little lull, but I gotta say that interview was maybe 10 minutes.
Wow.
And then the lines just kept filing through.
And I'm not sure, your perspective, but were people just coming in and dumping stuff on the table?
Yeah, from jewelry to coins, you name it. Wow. It was all there.
Okay, time to check the drawers. Thank you, Hunter. All right, well, hey, speaking of money and transactions, more numbers are in, more than $2.5 million worth of it, and we are talking about lobbying. That is right, a record year, $2.5 million spent in 2025 from lobbyists, groups from near and far, and very far, and they are using their financial power to try and influence issues at the Idaho State House. Nothing new there, and the numbers have always been public, but there is a concerted effort to make them more accessible and easy to understand. Things like compare and contrast, connecting money to actual issues. You may remember in 2024, there was a push to update laws to better reflect who is spending or indirectly spending and what for in terms of lobbying. Now we're getting our first look at how the change looks. Take a look at this video. The Secretary of State's team has a visualization month to month. You can see in real time a lot of money was coming in throughout the year. You probably saw it fly by there, but during the legislative session, a lot of lobbying going on, and all dollars documented. It is the Modern Ag Alliance that spent the most money this year on lobbying in Idaho, $621,000. $400,000 behind them, the American Federation for Children and the Children's Alliance of Idaho in the top 5. Only one organization is based in Idaho. So a lot of out-of-state money. And when we see your comments and questions over the years about out-of-state money and the impact on Idaho politics, here's a good visualization to show the split. There are 392 lobbyists that are out of state. 392 are in state, 300 out of state. Coast to coast, there is interest in Idaho, New York, New Jersey, D.C., all the way to Southern California. Again, a little more than $2.5 million spent. And by the way, there is time for more spending to be done. Secretary of State Phil McGray noted a shifting trend in spending while speaking at the Associated Taxpayers of Idaho's 79th annual conference.
Out-of-state spenders are spending a lot more money. And out-of-state spenders spent more money than in-state spenders. I think what's really fascinating that this data doesn't show just because of where we are in the time period is at the end of the session, the #1 spending lobbyist was an out-of-state organization, Modern Ag Alliance, that you see up here. That one organization had outspent every registered lobbyist, in-state lobbyist in the state of Idaho, combined.
And McGray noted that this was a record-breaking year for spending, and it is the first time out-of-state influence has outspent in-state groups. So money was spent. But what were the issues top of mind? What were they spending on? Well, House Bill 345 saw the most influence. 71 lobbyists weighed in, and that was new restrictions and sideboards to the Medicaid questions about Medicaid expansion and cost. And that legislation did become law. Also towards the top, Idaho's parental choice tax credit, among other debates on medical freedom, wildfire policy, tax cuts, and immigration to round up the top. An interesting note from the Secretary of State. The data shows the very different approach in and out-of-state lobbyists take to influence issues.
If you look at food and beverage and sponsored group events, so these are all the receptions that we all attend, the breakfast, lunch, and dinners, the in-state organizations overwhelmingly lobby in the old school fashion, right? They are meeting you in the lobby, right? Or taking you out to lunch. The out-of-state organizations aren't meeting anyone for lunch. If you were to look at the names of the top 5 spending lobbyists, most of you wouldn't know who they are. And it's because they're not here. And you'll see that they're spending their money on social media, billboards, text messages, a lot more of the activity that we see in campaigns.
So lawmakers are also outnumbered by lobbyists. There's 105 members of the legislature, and there's about 400 lobbyists that are registered, and all of them are supposed to register. So a 4-to-1 ratio. 2026 will likely be no different. There are lots of lunches to be had. Nearly 30 horses are dead after a huge barn fire in the Treasure Valley. Plus, an avalanche center issuing its first forecast of the season. What you need to know before skiing in the backcountry over in the Sawtooths. Our Morgan Romero has details in today's 411.
An investigation is underway after a big barn fire killed 28 horses in New Plymouth. The call came into firefighters at 6:45 yesterday morning. When firefighters arrived on Little Road, heavy flames were billowing out of the barn. Around 40 firefighters from several departments helped fight the fire. 2 workers were treated for breathing in smoke and taken to a hospital. No firefighters were hurt. The Idaho State Fire Marshal's office is working to learn how it started. An alert for people planning to hit the backcountry of the Sawtooth Mountains. The Avalanche Center issued its first forecast of the season. It says there is considerable avalanche danger in the Sawtooth Western Smokies and moderate avalanche danger in the Banner and Galena and Eastern Mountain zones. Those alerts will last through tomorrow morning at 4. We invite you to join us for this year's 7 Cares Idaho Shares. Mark your calendars. It's happening this Saturday, December 13th. Your KTVB team will be at several locations listed on your screen around the Treasure and Magic Valleys. We'll be there from 8 until 11 a.m., collecting food and money donations.
Building your dream home. There are many benefits to personalizing your house the way you want it, tailoring it to your family, your taste, constructing it exactly how you envision it. And it's not always the affordable option, but for Beavers, it's basically the only option. Last month, fans walking back from a Boise State basketball game caught that work live in action. Check this out. This is video from Levi Jones. It's been circulating all over social media for the last week. And you will watch as a beaver carrying what I would describe as a rather large branch across the greenbelt, headed right down to the river, completely unfazed, unbothered by the human onlookers. We caught up with the conservation education supervisor from Idaho Fish and Game. She tells us what this beaver was likely up to that evening in this so Idaho moment.
Beavers are my favorite animal, so it's really fun for me to talk about. When I saw the video, I thought, well, that's super special. Great opportunity to appreciate that species and that shares our community with us.
What is the beaver doing here?
That beaver is getting ready for winter, basically. This time of year, and actually all year round, beavers are pretty concerned about winter. So they are building their lodge, so they have some place to be in the cold weather because they do not hibernate and they do not migrate. They're getting food stored. So that could have been a branch that beaver was dragging. It could have been for food. It could have been to build the lodge. So yeah, pretty busy getting ready for winter.
So they do eat branches. They don't just, chew them up.
Yeah, they would probably prefer the leaves if they had a choice. And then their second choice would be the thin layer of bark with the green right underneath. And then when desperate, they will eat the entire thing. Yes.
I think the video we were told was shot after a Boise State basketball game. So like probably 9, 10 o'clock at night. Is that, prime working time for a beaver?
Exactly. So beavers are fairly nocturnal, maybe more crepuscular, and that just means dawn and dusk on the edge of night and day. It's not unusual for them to be working at that time, but I did think it was unusual that the beaver didn't seem to be bothered at all by the crowd. That is a little unusual. He was on a mission for sure.
Did the people in this video do the right thing? Just let the beaver do their job and kind of stay away?
Yeah, yes. In general, they did the right thing. They kind of gave it some space. If I were to wave my magic wand, I'd probably have them give it a little more space. But yeah, and nobody approached it, nobody touched it, nobody grabbed the branch and tried to help. And that definitely is the right thing to do. Let the animals do what they need to do.
So if a beaver trotting across the green belt carrying timber from its future home is so Idaho, then this is so local police department helping you bring home your lawnmower. Have you seen this? The Boise Police Department shared this video on social media saying, you never know what kind of calls you're going to get on the night shift. BPD says 3 officers helped a 14-year-old boy get his vehicle back home. Well, over the weekend, we learned which teams will face each other on the blue turf for the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. The Utah State Aggies will play the Washington State Cougars on December 22nd. And while the Potato Bowl won't feature an Idaho team this year, it's maybe the most Idaho thing we can cover. Hear me out. Teams, they play on the iconic blue turf, hopefully with some snow in the Boise Mountains in the background, an Idaho legend running up and down the field. Oh yeah, no matter what, the star of the show is the one and only Spuddy Buddy. Today, in honor of the game and the matchup, we're taking a look back. 4 years ago, I caught up with the one and only Spuddy to talk about the origins of the Gem State mascot. Oh sure, there's a big game on the blue with two teams wearing yellow pants. But do you know who the real star of the famous Idaho Potato Bowl is?
Spuddy Buddy. Wait a minute, you don't know?
If you logged online during the football game, you may have noticed that it was far easier to find Spuddy Buddy content than even the score of the game. So where did the legend of Spuddy begin? In a sack of Idaho potatoes? Spuddy spokesman Sue Kennedy fills us in. It's a great story.
Oh, very much so. About 25 years ago, Spuddy Buddy made his debut at the Today Show window in New York City. And Al Roker was immediately drawn to Spuddy Buddy and said, "Who is this?" And one of the commissioners at the time said, "Spuddy Buddy." And that's when the name was born. And that's when Spuddy Buddy became world famous.
She isn't kidding. Spuddy goes coast to coast spreading the good word about Idaho potatoes. Sure, Spuddy's a hometown hero, but on the road, it still always feels like home.
Oh, crazy. People love Spuddy Buddy because they've seen him, they've heard of him, they saw him on the Today Show, they see him on social media, and then to get to meet Spuddy Buddy in real life is a really big deal.
And Spuddy has a full team to support all the hard work.
It's very hard. It's very, very hard. That's why Spuddy Buddy actually has a bodyguard over there who has to make sure that people keep their distance. If you've noticed, a lot of the mascots get a little jealous and want to do chest bumps, so that's why we have the bodyguard.
If you've seen Spuddy, you already know. This tater is full of excitement, and there's a big reason for that.
Spuddy Buddy is full of energy. She's a potato, and potatoes offer lots of energy. They have a lot of great complex carbs that are very important to you, and that's what you get.
And sure, there will be cheers today for the action on the blue, but it's fair to say, I think, Spuddy likely got some of the loudest pops of the day.
Spuddy Buddy, oh, Spuddy Buddy. Everybody loves Spuddy Buddy, and everybody loves Idaho potatoes. It's just a perfect fit. It's natural, and how can you not smile when you see this? You just see Spuddy Buddy and you want to smile. We go back a long way.
Everybody does love Spuddy Buddy. And hey, everybody loves snow in the mountains as well, right? But unfortunately, we are not seeing much snowfall, but we are seeing the return of rain. Live look at Highway 55 at Smiths Ferry just before you get up into Long Valley. You can see wet roadways there. As far as temperatures go, it is plenty warm enough to support rain all the way up to about 7,000 feet this afternoon. So we are seeing some rain rolling into the Treasure Valley as well. All of this coming in straight from west to east. Remember, too, we lose our radar beam over the mountains. It doesn't curve up and around the mountains, kind of run straight into it. So we lose our precipitation picture once you get out towards Placerville and Cascade here. But you can see plenty of moisture out there, part of that atmospheric river that's been inundating the Pacific Northwest over on the West Coast throughout the day today. We are at 50 degrees in Boise right now, mid-40s in the Magic Valley, 30s and 40s up in the mountains. And as far as that plume of moisture goes, here it is. You can see it's all the way back past Hawaii. That's kind of the origination of this plume of moisture. So the Pineapple Express pumping all this moisture into the Pacific Northwest and the Gem State this evening. It will continue during the day tomorrow and potentially even into Wednesday morning. So here's our future cast starting us tomorrow morning. We'll wake up to dry conditions in the valley. Best chance of rain for the Boise area will be from midday on through dinner time. But really, the mountains will bear the brunt of this precipitation. We'll see snow only above about 7,000 feet tomorrow. Likely rain below that. So we're looking at potentially up to an inch of total precipitation in the mountains. We'll see that rain hanging on through maybe 6 to 8 o'clock tomorrow night in the Treasure Valley. Then it lifts to the north. Mountains continue to see scattered precipitation off and on through the day Wednesday. We will dry up and warm up in the Treasure Valley on Wednesday. We're talking high temperatures up around 60 degrees for the Snake River Plain on Wednesday. We'll be confused as to what season we are in. So as far as low temperatures tomorrow, will only drop to the mid-30s up in the mountains, mid-40s in the lower elevations tomorrow. That's why snow levels stay so high. The origination of that plume of moisture is a very warm area, and so it's bringing warm air in. Even with the moisture coming in, we'll hit the 50s across the Treasure Valley again tomorrow afternoon. Temperatures in the mountains don't move a whole lot. We'll only hit 40 degrees, but still things could get very soggy, very messy in the higher elevations where snow is existing right now. Rain on top of that could make things muddy and soggy at times. So it is a first alert weather day for those impacts tomorrow. By Wednesday, the rain is mostly out of the Treasure Valley. Warm temperatures stick around not just Wednesday, but all the way into the weekend.
All right, comments to end the half hour for you. This one from Andrea. Good information on lobbyists from terrific Secretary of State Phil McGrain. Yes, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that those dashboards are available for everyone to look at voteidaho.gov. Bob writes, just wondering on these lobbyists, all the money they're spending, how many of the bills are trying to get through help Idaho citizens? Bob, it's a good question. I guess the answer would be in the eye of the beholder there. B&B writes, I'm not surprised about out-of-state influence in our elections. You can kind of tell by how the legislators put their wants together. Hopefully this session they'll consider us Idahoans first. B&B, thank you for your perspective. And SK in Boise wrote, out-of-state lobbyists should be limited to under $500 to total spending per group. I know that there's a lot of questions on campaign finance and lobbying directly and indirectly. We'll see what lawmakers take on in January. See you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.